Libra. What if I told you that 2 silent endings and 1 divine meeting are already unfolding in your life, and this video is your confirmation? Welcome to Zodiac Whisper Tarot, beautiful soul. If you're here, I want you to know you're not lost, and you're not late. You were guided here by an invisible thread of synchronicity, wrapped in stardust and purpose. This is not just a reading. This is a message your soul has been quietly calling in, and today, we answer that call together. You see, Libra, your energy is undergoing a gentle but powerful shift. A sacred rebalancing. Maybe you've been sensing it already, a subtle ache in your spirit, a feeling that something familiar no longer fits, or a pull towards something new you can't quite name. These are not random feelings. They are signs. Your alignment is changing, and the universe is preparing you for 2 essential goodbyes and 1 life-shaping encounter that could redefine your entire path. But before we step into the heart of this message, let's take a moment to breathe. To be present. To acknowledge this sacred space we're co-creating right now. Because energy flows where attention goes, and your attention is no accident. You're exactly where you need to be. Let me also take a moment to express my deepest gratitude for your presence here. Every like you give, every comment you leave, every subscribe you tap, it doesn't just support this channel, it expands the circle of light we're building together. You are a living part of this spiritual ecosystem, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart for walking this path with me. Your support is what fuels this space and allows messages like this to reach the souls who need them most. Now listen closely, Libra. The messages coming through today are no ordinary predictions. They carry the weight of soul contracts, karmic closure, and divine timing. I believe, and you will feel that something truly spectacular is aligning for you, but first, you must release what is quietly breaking behind the curtain of your smile. That's why I encourage you to stay until the very end, not because it helps the algorithm, but because this message has layers. By the end of this video, I believe you will not only understand what's happening around you, you'll feel empowered to choose what happens next. And if a sacred number has already appeared in your mind, 222, 444, or something more mysterious, write it in the comments. That number is a signpost. It's proof that you are in tune. That spirit is speaking. That heaven is still watching over your steps, even when the road feels unclear. Because sometimes, divine messages don't arrive with thunder. They come as whispers. As soft inner nudges. Or as a video you never expected to click, but somehow, you needed to hear. Ready? Let's begin this journey together. Sometimes, it starts as a whisper, a subtle tension in your chest when you smile, a quiet pull towards solitude in the middle of laughter, or a strange resistance to routines that once brought comfort. It's not that everything has fallen apart, it's that something inside of you no longer fits what you've carefully arranged on the outside. For Libra, whose nature seeks balance and harmony above all, this inner dissonance can feel unsettling. But here's the truth: the very energy you've used to maintain peace may now be the same energy that is calling you to break free. As Venus, your ruling planet, moves closer to Saturn or Pluto's gravitational influence, there's a cosmic invitation for you to reevaluate what balance truly means. Is it silence in the face of discomfort? Is it pretending to be okay so others feel safe? Or is it something deeper, the quiet integrity of being aligned with your own soul, even when it creates temporary imbalance around you? You're being asked now to look beyond appearances and question what you've been holding together, not because it's real, but because it's familiar. This period of your life is not about chaos. It's about clarity. When the Justice card appears reversed in a reading for Libra, especially Libra, it speaks to a profound misalignment, a moment when you've set aside your inner truth for the sake of peacekeeping. Maybe you've been overly accommodating. Maybe you've told yourself, it's fine, too many times, just to avoid conflict. But fine is not what you came here to be. You were made for beauty, yes, but also for depth, for discernment, for grace that doesn't bend so far it breaks. And then comes the Lovers. Not simply a card about romance, but about decision. A sacred choice point. Will you keep choosing what keeps others happy? Or will you dare to choose what feels holy to your own heart, even if that means stepping away from the middle ground and into a bolder truth? This moment is not asking for rebellion. It's asking for realignment. From an energetic perspective, what you're sensing now is not dysfunction. It's the rising frequency of your soul, finally outgrowing the old calibration that once served you. You've been shedding quietly, shedding roles, expectations, versions of yourself built on keeping others comfortable. The discomfort you feel now is a sign of expansion. You're growing into a version of yourself that no longer tolerates imbalance, no matter how beautiful the facade. Sometimes, in an effort to be everything for everyone, we become a stranger to ourselves. But no more. This new energy is whispering, or maybe now it's starting to roar, and it's saying, come home. Not to a person. Not to a place. But to truth. To alignment. To the calm that doesn't require you to shrink. You are not here to be the glue in broken dynamics. You are here to be the mirror that reflects clarity, fairness, and love without sacrifice of self. There's an old wisdom that reminds us, peace that costs you your truth is not peace, it's a performance. And while there's a time for diplomacy, there's also a time to remember that your presence is sacred, not negotiable. You are allowed to say, this no longer feels like me. You are allowed to choose again. So if you're feeling restless, if things that once soothed you now feel stifling, trust that you're not falling apart. You're falling into alignment. And even though letting go may feel unbalanced at first, that imbalance is necessary. It creates the space for something real to take root. Let yourself stand in this energy, Libra. Let it cleanse you, strip away the falseness, and bring you back to the kind of balance that includes you, too. The kind of balance that nourishes your spirit, not just your image. And as you walk forward, remember this: you don't need to force the world to approve your truth. You just need to honor it. And the rest will realign itself. There's a quiet ache that builds when you stay too long in a place your soul has outgrown. You may not always notice it at first, perhaps it hides beneath daily routines, polite conversations, or the subtle way your energy drops when you walk into certain rooms. But eventually, your body begins to whisper what your heart has known for a while: something doesn't feel right anymore. For Libra, who often strives to keep the peace, to keep beauty intact even in imbalance, it's not easy to acknowledge when something that once felt aligned is now draining the light from within. It could be a relationship that used to inspire you, but now feels like you're both acting in a play with no more script. Or maybe it's a job that looks good on paper, polished from the outside, but inside it leaves you feeling uninspired and invisible. You keep showing up, smiling, contributing, hoping it's just a phase, but deep down, you already know. The harmony you're trying to maintain is costing you your inner calm. And that's not harmony at all. It's self-abandonment dressed as loyalty. In astrology, when Venus, your ruling planet, begins to square or conjunct heavier influences like Saturn or Pluto, the question becomes unavoidable. What am I holding on to that no longer reflects who I am becoming? This isn't just cosmic coincidence. These energies are gentle nudges from the universe, urging you to release what once served you but now stifles your growth. You may notice your sleep patterns shifting, or your skin responding to stress in quiet rebellion. These aren't flaws, they're feedback. Your body is trying to help you come home to your truth. Letting go, especially for someone who values connection and grace like Libra, can feel like betrayal. But leaving something that's become misaligned is not a failure, it's an act of self-respect. It's recognizing that beauty without breath is just a hollow sculpture. And you, dear Libra, were never meant to be frozen in form. You are meant to be alive, expressive, whole. There's wisdom in asking yourself gently, if I wasn't afraid, what would I choose today? You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to listen honestly. Fear often disguises itself as duty, as responsibility, or as a need for control. But you were not created to live on autopilot. You were created to live with intention. Even in sacred texts, there is a gentle reminder that peace isn't the absence of conflict, it's the presence of rightness, of truth. And rightness often comes after the brave act of releasing what no longer reflects your value. It's okay to outgrow what once made sense. It's okay to be grateful for a chapter and still know it's time to close the book. Gracefully. Quietly. With love but with clarity. During this time, be gentle with yourself. Allow small healing rituals to anchor you. Drink teas with soft blue hues, butterfly pea, blueberry infusions to calm the nervous system. Let 5 minutes of morning stillness return you to your center before the noise begins. Surround yourself with soft pastel blues, in your clothes, your bedding, even your journal. This color carries the vibration of peace, not a peace that silences, but a peace that speaks. You don't need anyone's permission to choose peace that includes you. You don't have to explain why you're walking away from something that no longer feels right. The truth doesn't always need to be defended. Sometimes, it just needs to be honored. And if that means letting go of something or someone that no longer reflects who you are, then let it be a farewell full of quiet courage. Because when you release with intention, you create space for something real. Something new. Something that breathes with you. And perhaps this is the hardest goodbye of all, not to a person, or a place, but to a version of yourself that once helped you survive. A version that knew how to keep the peace, how to soften their voice so others wouldn't feel threatened, how to smile through discomfort and keep everyone else comfortable. You've worn this identity like well-fitted armor for years. It kept you safe. It allowed you to navigate spaces where your truth may not have been welcomed. But now, that armor is getting too heavy. And more importantly, it's no longer necessary. This moment in your life calls for a different kind of release, the kind that doesn't involve packing boxes or ending a conversation, but rather choosing, again and again, to return to yourself. Not the self that others see, or expect, or depend on. But the real one. The one who knows when they're compromising too much. The one who's been quietly asking, who am I when I stop trying to manage everyone else's emotions? For Libra, who so deeply values connection and beauty, this part of the journey can feel confusing. You may wonder if choosing yourself means turning away from your nature. But the truth is, you're not rejecting your nature, you're realigning it. You're remembering that true harmony isn't about constant accommodation. It's about mutual respect. And that respect begins with how you treat yourself. In numerology, the number 5 is often associated with transformation, freedom, and breaking patterns. If you've been noticing this number on receipts, clocks, even in dreams, it could be your subconscious, and perhaps something greater, reminding you that it's time for a shift. A permission slip to redefine the roles you've played, not because they were wrong, but because they were only chapters, not the full story. Try sitting with that truth for a moment. Not just intellectually, but emotionally. What does it feel like to give yourself space to not be everything for everyone? What does it feel like to say, I'm allowed to change even if it disrupts someone else's idea of who I am? It's not selfish to choose rest when you're tired. It's not wrong to say no when something doesn't feel right. It's not cruel to pull back when a situation no longer nurtures you. Choosing yourself doesn't make you hard, it makes you whole. If you've never written it down before, this is a powerful time to begin. Open a journal and finish the sentences. I am letting go of, and I am choosing. Let yourself be honest, even if the answers surprise you. Even if they make you nervous. Growth doesn't always come with certainty. But it does come with clarity, and right now, clarity is a gift you're finally ready to receive. There's a quiet strength in those who walk away from versions of themselves that no longer fit. You don't need to announce it to the world. You don't need permission. Your healing isn't a performance, it's a promise to yourself. And there's a soft kind of wisdom in knowing that sometimes, the most loving thing you can do for others is to no longer abandon yourself to keep them comfortable. As you begin this inner farewell, know this: you are not losing who you are. You are becoming more of it. You are stepping into the kind of self-respect that doesn't ask for applause. You are rewriting the script not because the old one was wrong, but because the next chapter deserves a new voice. Yours. Just when you think the quiet after a goodbye might last forever, something or someone begins to enter. Often without announcement, without grandeur. Not a loud arrival, but a gentle presence. Sometimes it's a person, other times a conversation, or a crossing of paths so subtle it almost escapes your notice almost. But your heart will know. Something in you will soften in their presence. Not because they complete you, but because they recognize a version of you that you've only just begun to meet yourself. This kind of encounter doesn't happen randomly. It's not about fate or romance in the traditional sense. It's about timing, a meeting orchestrated by your own growth. You had to let go of what was weighing you down in order to make room for this. In the space where you released expectations, old identities, or tired dynamics, there is now openness. That openness is fertile ground. And into that space, the right energy can now arrive. It's important to remember that this person, whoever they may be, won't come to save you. They will come to stand beside you. They're not here to fix anything, but to reflect something back to you: your worth, your wisdom, your readiness. And more than likely, they will arrive in a moment that feels ordinary. Over coffee. At work. Through a shared connection or even a passing comment online. But the feeling they leave will be anything but ordinary. The tarot paints this clearly. The Queen of Swords doesn't represent fantasy, she represents truth. Sharp insight. Quiet strength. When this card shows up, especially for a Libra reading, it tells us this new connection will be rooted in clarity, not illusion. You won't need to explain yourself or perform for approval. There will be mutual understanding, not perfection, but honesty. And that's rarer than most people think. The Six of Pentacles reminds us that this is not a one-sided offering. What's coming isn't meant to drain or deplete. It's meant to flow. There is balance here, the kind Libra craves, not just in theory, but in feeling. This is a connection where giving and receiving are both allowed. Where listening is valued as much as speaking. Where you are not asked to shrink in order to be loved, seen, or understood. If you've been feeling like no one really gets you lately, or like you've outgrown the old circles that once felt comfortable, this upcoming meeting will feel like a breath of fresh air. A reset. Not because they bring answers, but because they remind you that you're not alone in the way you think, feel, or dream. You've done the internal work. You've cleared the space. And now the universe responds not as a reward, but as a reflection. Sometimes life brings people not just to walk with us, but to mirror something vital that we've forgotten. That our intuition was right. That our voice matters. That our next steps don't need to be figured out all at once. And when someone sees you without agenda, you begin to see yourself more clearly too. To invite this energy more intentionally, you can practice a simple exercise. Take a quiet moment and write down 3 qualities that you hope this person carries. Not superficial traits, but the essence of what would support your journey now. Maybe it's honesty. Maybe it's depth. Maybe it's humor or spiritual clarity, or simply someone who truly listens. When you put it on paper, you send a clear signal to life, to yourself, that you're ready. It's a beautiful thing to be open again. To trust that not every meeting is a test or a lesson. Some are simply reminders that healing doesn't isolate you, it connects you deeper. And no matter how much you've given or lost before, there are still people who will meet you with open hands and an open heart. Not to rescue, but to walk with you right when you need it most. There's a moment, and you might be in it now, where the path ahead feels open, but also unfamiliar. You've said your goodbyes. You've released the roles, the patterns, the masks. You've created space within yourself for something real to enter. And now comes the question that makes your heart flutter just a little. Am I truly ready to receive what I've been asking for? For Libra, this isn't just about courage. It's about trust. You've spent so long weighing the scales, not out of indecision, but out of deep care for others, care for how your choices ripple outward. But what if the only thing the universe needs from you right now is a simple yes? Not a perfect decision, not a guaranteed outcome, just a genuine, wholehearted yes to what feels aligned. This is the beauty of Libra's energy. When in balance, you are elegance in motion. You bring fairness, beauty, peace, not through force, but through grace. But when you overthink, when you hesitate too long out of fear of making the wrong move, you can hold yourself back from the very blessings that are waiting to meet you halfway. The truth is, most doors won't knock twice. And the ones that do are rarely the ones that change your life. So when you feel the nudge, even if it's small, even if it feels like a whisper, listen. Respond. Say yes, even if your voice trembles a little. What's often misunderstood about Libra is that your indecision doesn't come from lack of knowing. It comes from the depth of your knowing. You sense all sides. You see the full spectrum. But in this season, you are being asked not to see more but to feel more. To choose with your heart, not just your logic. Because the law of attraction isn't activated by overanalyzing. It's activated by alignment. When you step fully into who you are, even if it's messy, even if it's still unfolding, the universe mirrors that courage. It responds not to who you pretend to be, but to who you actually are, unapologetically. There is no virtue in shrinking to be palatable. There is no reward in staying small so others won't feel uncomfortable. Choosing yourself, choosing joy, choosing ease, these are not selfish acts. They are signs that you finally believe in your own worth. And if that belief wavers, that's okay. Just begin with permission. You don't have to feel 100% confident to say yes to what feels good. You just have to feel 1% more curious than afraid. This week, allow your environment to reflect the softness and strength you're stepping into. Surround yourself with tones of rose gold, whether it's in the jewelry you wear, the candles you light, or the journal you write in. This color isn't just beautiful, it vibrates at a frequency that opens the heart chakra while gently grounding your intuition. It's a reminder that warmth and clarity can live in the same breath. That softness doesn't mean weakness. That you can choose with love, not pressure, and still be firm. When doubt creeps in, repeat to yourself, I am worthy of a life that is balanced, but never restrictive. I welcome what is good without guilt or hesitation. Let these affirmations guide you like gentle anchors. They are not magic words, they are mirrors. They reflect the parts of you that already know. You don't have to earn goodness. You just have to agree to receive it. And above all, remember this: even the most divine timing still requires a decision. Light cannot fill a space unless you open the door. So, Libra, what would it look like if you stopped questioning your readiness and simply said yes? Not a yes to everything. Just a yes to yourself. A yes to the new. A yes to the life you were always meant to live, full, free, and deeply, unapologetically aligned. And now, Libra, here you are at the end of this message, but truly, at the beginning of something far more real. You've walked through a quiet unraveling, not just of circumstances around you, but of layers within you that were no longer true. You've said goodbye not once, but twice, first to something outside of you that no longer felt alive, and then to a version of yourself that stayed too long in the name of peace. And in doing so, you've created space for something remarkable to enter, not to rescue you, but to remind you of what was always there, your right to choose a life that aligns with your truth. Sometimes the deepest healing comes not from breakthroughs or dramatic moments, but from soft decisions. Choosing not to respond the same way. Choosing not to explain yourself. Choosing to pause. Choosing joy even when you don't yet feel ready. Choosing peace and knowing this time, it includes you. That's where you are now. Not chasing balance for everyone else. but returning balance to your own heart. You've been the diplomat, the listener, the one who sees all sides. But now, it's time to see yourself fully, without shrinking. What you've experienced is not small. These transitions, even when they feel subtle or internal, are nothing short of sacred. It takes tremendous courage to unlearn patterns that once protected you. It takes strength to say no to what looks safe but feels empty. And it takes even more strength to say yes to what feels nourishing, even if you can't fully explain why. If you're still holding on to even the tiniest thread of doubt, let this be your reminder. There is nothing selfish about choosing alignment. There is nothing wrong with desiring ease. The Creator didn't design you for constant tension. You were made to reflect beauty and balance, yes, but not at your own expense. And the people who are meant for you, the ones who will walk with you in your next chapter, will never ask you to dim your light in order to be loved. Take a deep breath here. Let yourself land. Let yourself feel the weight you've released, the space you've cleared, and the tenderness you've reclaimed. This isn't an ending. It's a sacred arrival. A returning to the you that never needed to be fixed, only seen. Now, I want to ask you gently, what are you preparing to say goodbye to? What truth have you been hearing but hesitating to speak out loud? And if you feel the pull, share your angel number in the comments, the one that's been following you, or the one that appeared in your mind during this video. Numbers carry energy, and your number might just be the sign someone else in this community needs today. We heal in connection. We grow in shared reflection. So don't be afraid to leave your mark here. Let the universe know you received this. Let someone else feel less alone because of your words. And if anything in this message reached into a quiet corner of your heart, if it helped you name something, release something, or believe again in something, I invite you to leave a like, subscribe to Zodiac Whisper Tarot, and share this with someone who's been quietly searching for a message like this. Your support not only expands this circle, it helps more people hear what their soul has been waiting for. Because even when the path feels uncertain, even when you're still healing, you are never walking alone. The universe always leaves a gift at the edge of every brave ending. And I believe with all my heart, Libra, that your gift is already on its way. You've done enough. You are enough. And now it's your time to receive.